Hey, how's everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Seeds by EntrepreNerd, our English speaking or spoken podcast that we have here in this media outlet. Today we have a very nice and interesting guest. His name is Jan Ameri. He's the chairman of Arctic 15, which is an event that it's going to be happening in Helsinki during June, focusing in founders and looking for funding money or something like that. I'm sorry. So then we are going to the intro, and then we will start speaking with Jan right away. So let's go with the intro. That's right. We welcome very clearly now Jan Ameri. Thank you so much for having us, for being connected to this interview. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah. Well, I understand you are the executive chairman of Arctic 15.
Correct?
Very nice. And this is an event that is going to be happening on the 4th and June in Helsinki, Finland, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. Because we publish a lot of articles, a lot of news that are focused in innovation and entrepreneurship, especially in Latin America. I would like to go a little bit back before asking questions for this particular event. So for those who may not know you yet, who is Jan Ameri and how did you start your journey into the startup?
Okay, well, we have to go back to year 1998. How many years is that? It's like 28 years ago or something like that, right? And then, no, 27 years ago. And then I started as an entrepreneur. There was no word startup being used back then, but we did, internet, mobile games, advertising agent, this kind of stuff. And I fell in love with being an entrepreneur. And since then, I've had, been part of multiple different, maybe 7, 8 different companies as a founder or a co-founder and stuff like that. And for the startups especially, we had this one company doing like dynamic equity allocation tool. And I was reading all this news and this Arctic startup, which is like Arctic Startup Media, which is a news outlet writing Nordic and Baltic startups news since already 2008. And then I was reading their news, and it was 2012, and then they had this Arctic 15 event, and I said, "Oh, this is interesting, and I like to go events." So I actually volunteered just for fun for this event back then, and for some very weird reasons, next event I was the event director already, and
Oh, wow.
partner in the company and later CEO, and I've been the ex-chairman already for a couple of years. So it's been 12 years I've been here, more than that already. So I've been quite a long time, pretty deep inside the startup world and seen a lot of things here and how the Finnish
Congratulations.
startup
And
ecosystem and the Nordic and the Europe have developed.
wow, that was a fast growth there from being a volunteer one year to being in charge of everything the next.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird, I must say that. Definitely not planned, let's say like that. But
Yeah. We are showing to whom are watching this interview, to whom are just listening, we are showing the Art 15 website right now.
okay.
We are scrolling down about what they have in this website. There are some partners, what to expect, the information about the speakers that are going to be attending to this year event. But before going further on that, I have a question for you, Jan. What's the core mission of Arctic 15 today?
Well, our core mission is to help and support startups. And why? Because we believe that the startups and the founders are the ones who are changing the world and making the world a better place. So that's why our core mission is to support startups in any way we can. And typically it's about helping them to, get funding. So it means connecting them with a bunch of investors.
Can we describe that Arctic 15 is a deal driven event, or maybe has another way of being understood?
Yeah, let's say we try to be as efficient as possible on when you come and try to have as many meetings. Obviously, it's about matchmaking, so it's about you come there. Of course, it's about building relations, making friends, but you don't come there just to get inspired. You also, are actively there looking to take the next steps on your journey, right? And then normally you need other people's help and support on your journey wherever you're going. So in that sense, it's a meeting place, and it's like around 1,200 people. So it's big enough but intimate enough that you can actually meet people and build those relationships which are needed to do business or become friends.
Okay. And from year to year, the city where it's happening, it's changed?
No, we've been in Helsinki always, the Arctic 15, the flagship event, but 2021 we have done Arctic 15 in Stockholm. It was just before COVID, and we haven't come back yet. We had another event brand. We went to Stockholm last year, and we've done one small like Arctic 15 Goes Tampere event a couple of years
Oh,
ago
okay.
also. So it's like a little bit smaller version, let's say like that. But
Okay.
Helsinki is our home.
Okay. And what kind of startups typically attend Arctic 15? Is there any particular focus? I mean, early stage, deep tech, impact, etc.
Yeah, well, maturity is early stage startups, and of course, because more they grow, less they are, right? So there's like fewer bigger trees, and often, and of course, and nowadays, thanks to you mentioned deep tech, and thanks to deep tech, because these deep tech companies quite often they are require a lot of research. So these are coming from universities or research centers. So that those we have even teams who are not have even have a company business ID yet founded, but they are already coming there with the universities, especially like is Aalto University very active, Tampere University, even from Lappeenranta this year coming, and from Helsinki University. So there's early stage, even we could call them super early stage, these ones. And then of course, but I would say the pre-seed, seed, A round, those are the sweet spot.
Amazing. Amazing. Truly amazing. In that sort of line, this year particularly, you have been very vocal about searching and wanting more female founders to attend the event. Why is
Mhm.
that a priority for you and for Arctic 15?
Well, obviously, you have not noticed my LinkedIn campaign where I was looking for female founders to join the event, and why I'm looking for more female founders and why I want to support, because normally quite often we just do stuff and no need to talk about them, and showing by doing is the key. But sometimes in the how the world politics, geopolitics, what events in the world and progress is not always optimal. So then sometimes you need to roll up sleeves and put yourself in front there and take action and
Mhm.
talk about it. First time we did action was already 2016, since when we announced then like 3 months before the event we'll have 50-50 male female speaker ratio, but back then it
Mm.
required like 3 months of late nights of hunting for partner level female speakers or founders who have raised a lot of money, and that was a lot of struggle. Now there's been improvements, but I would say the main difference, which I'm shocked myself almost daily and every year, why? Because there's like facts that the companies which have female founders typically produce better returns,
Wow.
but still very small percentage of the venture capital funding goes to female-led and female-founded companies. So there's a imbalance in the markets, and in the investor side, it's been a huge improvements in the last decade that we have a lot of females as partners in the VC firms, even many VC funds which been started by women, which is great, but still the balance of where the money flows is still a little bit off balance. So that I want to offer my little boost for like driving more funding towards female founders.
Jan, and you said that when you have a female founder into the founder group, you tend to have more, you gain more, so to speak.
Yeah,
Why do
returns.
you think is that?
Well, women are by nature good at multitasking, probably more trustworthy on many things and have more responsibility characteristics, so those could be some of those. I haven't really dig in deeper into the the human nature on what could be the core reasons there, but there's a lot of data that supports this.
Got it. Got it. Got it. You said you started like being very forward in order to have female founders and female investors in the event since 2016. Do you think like Arctic 15 is helping close the that gap, like in the, for so to speak, underrepresented groups?
Well, we do our little part of helping with that. Of course, it's not, we cannot do everything. Obviously, we're a small player, but we really want to do our own share, and hopefully everybody else also, gets inspired, motivated, and are eager to do their own share also.
Okay, okay. And have you selected already those 15 female founders you were looking for?
Yes, I have selected them already.
Wow. There is going to be a surprise for most of them, or not?
Well, obviously, and they know, all of them know already. All of them know already that they have won, but of course, some were quite surprised and excited about this. And of course, it was challenging. There was like hundreds of comments, and they do, it's kind of like a random selection, but they still try to be fair, and there's from different Nordic Baltic countries representation and different, industries and stuff like that. Of course, I'd love to give everybody tickets, but it's not a good. We are a business, so in that sense, it's not a good business to give stuff for free.
Yeah, yeah.
Little bit is okay.
They are coming from different industries, right? I mean, health tech, insurtech.
Yeah. There's quite many. It could be mental health related, or psychology, or especially health or food related. There were, and some were like deep, and AI also on a certain section, for of course.
Okay, okay. And what they can expect for this edition of Arctic 15? Do you think they will be able to effectively raise funding?
Well, we have had lots of success stories. We don't really, track per se and call people 6 months or 1 year later, have you raised funding specifically from our event? But, over the years, there's so many stories you hear, because it takes some time to, close the funding rounds. And because you meet somebody today, maybe it's 3 months or 6 months or 1 year later that they might actually, get the funding or like that. So definitely this year, as we will have, matchmaking platform where you can pre-book meetings when you come, before you already come. And so you have already, some meetings in the calendar booked. We have speed dating session team, different team that then you can, find like a quick pitching to investor, like little, is it interesting? If yes, then we can continue, because the no comes quickly, but the maybe yes takes long time. So in that sense, you can save and be more efficient, like I said. And on average, over many years already in our different events, it's about average 6 meetings per person per day.
Wow.
So you come there for 2 days, you'll have 10 plus meetings. So then you can calculate the odds if you can get something done, or raise funding, or maybe you find a distributor for a product, or a new co-founder employee. But typically it's heavily focused on the networking and matchmaking. Of course, we have a great program on stage. We have workshops which you can go in depth longer, and have very interactive sessions to different teams and stuff like that. And of course, we have an exhibition area where you can find startups, or a bit like representing, demoing their products, and these university spin-offs and stuff like that. So there'll always be new action there at the event.
Very interesting. You said something related to memorable, and I'm thinking, in all this time you have been directing this event, has been, do you remember some memorable moments during your tenure in Arctic 15?
Well, a lot. I've been here more than a decade, so it's like a full big book of memories. But if some like a highlights of, if I can think from personal perspective, would be probably when Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, was a speaker in our event 2018, and we had made a bet with him previous year in Stockholm, and he's an investor in the company, and made a bet. And so he, during his, or just before starting his keynote, he shaved my head on Arctic 15 main stage. Well, technically he started it, and then I had a professional finishing it there while he was giving his keynote. I was being shaved bald in the stage. And I got $100 for this. But it was kind of like 1 year later, some people who I don't know came to tell me, "Oh, Jan, your hair has grown back already," because he had millions of followers on social media, and posted that clip on the social media. So that was definitely a memorable, and put my face a little bit out there beyond the local circle even. But that was very memorable moment for sure.
Yeah, very memorable with a lot of hair loss. Is there anything else about this year's event that you want to tell our audience, like for them to remember? I don't know. Is there still tickets available? Do they
Well,
need? There are some date that they need to record to remember before like going into the event actually.
Yeah, well, of course, whatever you do, it's good to prepare to get the return on your investment time and money you're spending on coming to the event. So always I recommend to, prepare a little bit before you come, make those pre-book those meetings, some of the meetings at least, and become with an open mind, and hungry to connect with new people there. And of course, meeting old friends, and it's the best place to meet with the Finnish startup ecosystem, because like let's say Slush is amazing, it's huge, but there's so many foreigners from everywhere there, so massive, so you get lost. So we're more intimate and more local. The Finnish startup event, you could say like that, because Slush is like a very global today, which is amazing. But it's hard to meet the Finnish people sometimes there.
For sure, for sure. We want to remind our audience, or whoever is watching or listening on this interview, that if you want more information about Arctic 15, you can go to their website. It's arctic15.com. Like it says, ARCTIC 15.com. You can see there like all the reasons why, if you are a startup or investor, to attend, details about the industry breakdown with a lot of percentage. You will also at the same time see who will be the speakers for this year event.
I forgot to mention we also have for VCs we have this LP summit where VCs can raise funding, and then we have also Exit Summit this year as a new thing, and then next week there's something totally new being launched also. Because typically we've had a pitching competition, but we decided only one company wins and get a investment. So we're actually launching this Art 15 deal tank next week, and then we'll have multiple kind of like Shark Tank type of sessions where we hope to get many companies actually funded on the spot, like soft commitments obviously, but that's pretty exciting new thing, and trying to drive as much results for startups as possible.
Nice. Thank you so much for telling us, because that's going to be a brand new thing, and it's for sure it's going to be impactful.
Yes.
Also, at the same time, I would like to say thank you again for having us, for making time for this interview. And for sure, we will be covering all the news that it's going to be happening during the 4th and the 5th of June during this Arctic 15 2025 event in Helsinki, Finland.
Thank you so much.
And to you all, remember, every week we are publishing new articles, new interesting things about the startup ecosystem of Europe, Latin America, and the world. My name is ROP Villanueva. I'm one of the co-founders of Entrepreneurial Media, and this was a new episode of Seats, our English-speaking podcast. See you soon. See you next time. Have a nice day.